When women dare to fully be themselves, to rise up as the divine beings they are, to operate in their magic, their sexuality, their power, they are always labeled one thing: wicked.
Wicked is a podcast for women who dare to walk in their true identity, power, and magic. Who go against societal culture of being seen and not heard. Who are the black sheep and powerhouses the structure tries to defeat. And here is your shepherd leading you astray, Mystic.
Holy hell, you guys. It has been a hot minute since I have recorded a podcast. Well, I mean, maybe it's just been 2 weeks or maybe 3 at the most. It feels like forever for me because I look forward to this so much. But yeah, I just moved and it was totally unexpected, totally needed though. And I holy shit. The last couple weeks have been nothing short of insane. May was very, very insane. I mean, to be honest, the last 9 months of my life, I can't even comprehend the things that have transpired. Never in a million fucking years would I have ever thought anything that took place would happen. And I actually want to talk a little bit about this today on the podcast, and I'm not sure how deep I'm going to get into my personal life yet in this area. I know I have a lot of you guys DMing me just because I have, let little bits and pieces kind of trickle into the podcast over, the past month or so. And those of you that are, steady listeners have probably pieced some things together. So some of that will kind of be addressed. But, it'll all be in the context of the topic of the show. So what I really wanted to talk about specifically is divine feminine energy. And we hear this a lot, especially today, especially on social media by all, the woo-woo people like myself. Hey, I actually would not put myself, when I think of woo-woo, I think of the people that I don't know, have blonde hair and crystals glued to their forehead, and they run around in the woods half naked and record it for Instagram, and I don't know, take planes to foreign countries to take ayahuasca. What I consider myself more of an occultist and somebody who actually goes into isn't afraid of the void. What modern spirituality tends to avoid, even though they say that they literally avoid, I mean non-void, not going into the void. They say that they're not in shadow work and all this stuff, but even when it comes down to it, it's woo woo, and it's not what divine feminine is. Divine feminine has nothing to do with wearing a dress and frolicking in fields. Divine feminine energy is actually highly fucking destructive, and being in your divine feminine isn't just about receiving. Okay, we talk about this a lot, right? I talk about it a lot, learning how to receive. It's very, very hard for us to wrap our minds around this concept of receiving for your worth, for your value. That's totally a part of it, but it's 1/16 of the pie, right? Divine feminine energy it will wreck your life. True divine feminine energy. It will absolutely wreck your life, and in a good way. And when you're in tune with this energy, well, you will learn how to receive the wrecking ball. And that is the hard part. That's the hard part. Allowing. Okay. Sometimes it comes across like feminine energy is passive, right? especially in our society today. And it's crazy because I feel this like I want to say like passive, that they want women to be passive, right? Like, don't come up against the patriarchy, don't come up against XYZ, just like stay in your square, right? And I tell you guys all the time, get the fuck out of that square, come against, stay wicked. That's the whole theme of the fucking show. But there's also this passivity where it's actually beneficial, where it's like, I am not going to fight against the divine feminine energy that's wrecking my life, and I'm going to allow it to flow. And so I guess we'll get into a little bit of story time of what has transpired in my life over the last 9 months. And it's interesting to me because everything that is happening in my life since the conception of my son is all happening in 9-month increments, right? Because that is the divine feminine number, isn't it? And that's actually the number of completion, and it's the number of death. And you will find that a lot of the death gods are associated with the number 9. Okay? And there's a reason for that. But cycles happen in these like 9-month processes. And it's crazy because seeing it align so perfectly in these 9-month increments in my life right now, I'm just like, holy shit. It's like I'm just constantly in the death and rebirth cycle. But oh man, when I was unpacking, I found some journals of mine through my pregnancy and like things that I forgot about, and like everything was just being pieced together. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about my pregnancy. I'm going to more talk about what has gone on afterwards in these past 9 months. And it actually started, let's see, I don't know, maybe I was like 3 or 4 months postpartum. And I was still so heavily in the void at that point, and very like just, I want to say like incoherent, because I was so sleep deprived. Like, most of y'all know Zion is not a fucking sleeper. Like, he fucking fights sleep. I mean, I remember like the 3rd day he was born, every 15 minutes he was crying and just wanted to breastfeed, and I couldn't set him down for naps. And he would only take 10 or 15 minute naps. And so like I was exhausted. I was trying to homeschool Malachi. I was trying to take care of both of them. Like it got really bad. And I needed something to shift. I needed something to change. I'm limited on what supplements I can take. And it's not like supplements are going to fucking help. I'm on, 2 to 4 hours of sleep per night. Like, you can only function like that for so long. And I was thinking, in searching for, well, what is this? What am I being called to right now? What change am I supposed to be making? Because I can't live like this anymore. And I started doing a lot of meditations, and I started getting more involved with Hinduism, which I had been on and off studying since I want to say maybe 2014 or 2013. I think it was before I opened my vitamin store, so probably 2012, 2013. I was in and out of between like Sikhism and Hinduism, just kind of studying more of the Eastern religions, and I started getting more into meditations. And in that, of course, when you start doing specific meditations, things begin to manifest in your life, right? Now, I'm not doing mantras or anything like that. I am a firm believer that you need to be initiated into mantras, okay? So for those of you that are listening to this podcast and, you're just out there like listening to mantras while you're in traffic on your way to work, I probably would suggest you don't do that. Or if you're chanting mantras and don't know the appropriate breathing technique or the exact pronunciation of the mantra or the tone, you do need a guru for that, and you do get initiated into mantra. So I wasn't doing anything like, too crazy. So let's see, I want to say it was like May or June. Which is when I believe that podcast info came in July. So May and June, I like happened upon like Joe Dispenza's work, and I took one of his courses. And I was like, okay, this is going to help me change my mindset on shit. Like, I have to do this. I have to do something. And me, like, my hobby is learning. Like, I'm always, like, doing courses, reading books, whatever. And, like, at that time period, I was like, I need something that can drastically shift my mindset and get me out of this, like, I don't know what it is. I just know I need fucking change. And so I did some of his stuff, and I was doing a lot of his meditations, and there was one specific meditation. It's called Blessing of the Energy Centers Part 2 that I fucking loved. When I would complete that meditation and really lose myself in it, I felt like a different person. Like I was outside of my tired mom fucking crazy self. And it was helping to lift me out of my depression, which I will not soapbox on this, but, sleep deprivation with lack of support in the home is what, a lot of postpartum depression is. I really kind of get, I do understand hormones are involved, and I had it with my first son. I get postpartum anxiety where I like worry about like things that aren't really going to happen. Like, what if my arms get too tired and I drop my baby? My arms are going to fall off. Like crazy fucking, I'm sure a lot of you women can relate to that. So yeah, that's like kind of like hormonal things going on in your head. But a lot of postpartum depression and things like that, it stems from a lack of community, a lack of support in the home, and period. Because the sleep deprivation, all of that, when there is a village, because it does take a village, when there's a village and when there's, women supporting women, and not at all how our Western society is set up, and family is there for you. You can sleep and you can, you don't have to run the house, and the women are doing the things, right? Anyway, so, I was like, I need to do something here. So I did those courses, that one meditation, holy shit. So within that, I started combining that meditation with, like Kundalini breathing and Kundalini activation. And this specific meditation helps to just like align all of your energy centers, right? And it's automatically, when you start doing stuff with your chakras, and here's the key. When you're in a meditative state like that, and your goal is to align your chakras, you have to really lose yourself in it. It's letting your mind like go in a way where you're allowing that energy to take over. And when I would do this, when I would come up out of the meditation, I would feel like a different human. And I would be like, I don't know how else to explain it other than like bliss. Like I reached those points, and I would be in such a happy state, a high point, a flow state. I guess that's a better terminology for a flow state rather than like happy or something. Like it was just, I was in the flow, and I knew I was in that divine flow, and I was like, yes, like I still can be in this right now. In spite of what my current sleep state is, my depression, whatever it was. And I started noticing things when that was going on. I would, I would talk to my mom after, and immediately within 5 seconds of the conversation, she was saying things that completely pulled me down out of that energy. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what just happened? It like shatters it or something, like this pull down. I was like, well, that's not good. And then, you know, I was doing it every day. I would do the meditation again. Then something else started happening. I noticed every time I talked to my husband, that same effect would happen, like when I talked to my mother. And I was like, well, this isn't good. Yeah. So I was then at the point where I'm like, I want drastic change, because I do not want my life to look like it does anymore. I can't take this. I'm not happy with anything in my life right now. So I started, now listen, I don't want to hear you guys that you don't have time for meditation, because I somehow found fucking 2 hours in my day, because the meditation was 50 minutes long. I would get up before the baby, already fucking sleep deprived, and stay awake at night to fucking do this goddamn meditation, because I was so just, I'm going to create the motherfucking change. Like, I can't, this is the only way, because it's the only thing I can do right now. I'm not capable of working. I'm not capable of doing anything, but I can fucking meditate, and this is going to be the thing to change it. So when you start working with your energy centers and you're working with Kundalini energy, that is the divine feminine, period. You can't get more feminine than that, okay? That is the electricity of life. And the divine feminine energy, the Kundalini energy, the Shakti energy is the most intense energy. It is not this like flowy, like, oh, it's just a pretty rainbow of transformation. It is not. She will bring out the filth inside of you to face. But what she will also do is, whoever you are in intimate relationship with will also trigger that person to empty their filth. Because when you are in a union with somebody, that person is also going to have to purge, and because that Shakti energy is now flowing through you. And the two of you in union should be able to face these shadow aspects together and move forward. It's like facing your inner demons and then, you know, going through that process together and then elevating. Okay. So it's like the Lover's card in the tarot. You're going to hear me refer to this card many, many times throughout this podcast, because there's so much depth to it. But when you're in a union with someone, especially sexually, you can't elevate. If you're dealing with these types of energies, you can't go off and do this without it affecting the other person. Like, Shakti energy is sexual energy, and so if you are sharing sexual energy with someone, it's going to affect them. So as I'm doing this, right, and I feel myself elevating and getting into this total other realm of consciousness and just amazingness. I fucking loved it. My husband started purging. And boy, did his demons show up. Except he didn't want to deal with them. He couldn't face them. And he started declining rapidly. Very rapidly. And it was, so Zion was like 9-10 months old. So now we're into September. So May and June, I was doing that hardcore. I was also doing it in July because I'm asking for this change, right? Like I am hardcore every day, not missing it twice a motherfucking day. I'm doing this, and shit's starting to shift in my life. And I'll never forget, I did the meditation and I took Zion on a walk in the woods, and the idea for the podcast came, and I started writing it in my phone, like all the different ideas that were coming in, the name, everything, like the font that the name was supposed to be in, just everything started pouring in. And I'm like, that's it. I'm pouring myself into this podcast because this is coming through as like a divine thing. I have to start doing it. And so that was in July. So I started putting out the podcast. In August, we so things started getting a little bit, I don't know, like, just this stuff started coming up with my husband, and I'm just like, who is this? What the fuck is happening right now? And August we went to North Carolina, so that's my happy place, right? Being in the mountains, camping, that's my happy place. Also, so in August and the new moon, no, it was a full moon in Aquarius. It was the first of the month. I received a mala in the mail, and I used this mala while I was chanting. And the whole time we were in North Carolina, there were specific chants that came to me in a dream that I was to be doing. So I was doing those the whole fucking time. While we were camping, I got this special like snake charm. It was in some like gift shop thing that we were at when we were up there. And the Naga festival was going on in India, and I was like, yo, the timing of all this shit is so fucking crazy. So I was, doing special Naga chants, so that's like the snakes, the cobras. I was doing that the whole fucking time we were there. Now I'm crazy. When I want change, I'll fucking take it. I know that nothing was right in my life at that time period, and I was willing to like give up whatever. Whatever was not in alignment, I wanted gone. So again, now I'm with Naga chants, and I'm non-fucking stop. And I'm doing all of this, and the camping trip is definitely not going how I thought it would go, right? And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing it anyway. So we got back. Now we're into September. Zion starts going through a sleep regression, and he's waking up again about every 20 to 40 minutes. And it got so bad that one day I was walking with Malachi and Zai down the street, and I got such extreme vertigo, I almost like fell over in the street. And Malachi had to help me home. And so this was a very scary situation for me as a mother, because I'm like, okay, like I lived out in the boonies, right? So I'm like, okay, if I let go of the stroller, I'm going to fall over. If I hold on to the stroller, I'm going to risk tipping the stroller over with my baby in it. Malachi's on a scooter, so I'm like, you have to leave this on the side of the road. And then of course it's running through my head because bears come out in broad daylight. I'm like, what if a bear shows up right now? So like all this is running through my head, and I'm like, I'm like, do I crawl home and have him push the stroller? Like I'm trying to figure out, because like as my vision is completely blurry, and I felt feels like you're on a boat. Like I was completely tipping over. I'm like also not logically thinking it, and I'm like losing my sight. Like I can't, I'm like, am I about to black out? And so I'm trying to like think logically at the same time, like whatever. We end up home. I don't really remember how we got home. I think Malachi pushed the stroller. I don't know. I don't remember. So we got home. I waited for my husband to call me on my break, and I told him what happened, and he had no response. And I was like, what the fuck? So the next day I said to him, so he did 3 12-hour shifts to get his 40 over so that he could be home for 4 days. So I said to him, I was like, tomorrow morning when Zai gets up, I'm bringing him into you, because he was sleeping in a different room so the baby wouldn't disturb him while he went to work. I was like, I'm bringing the baby into you, and like I'm going back to bed so I can try and recoup. Like I have to get sleep. And he said to me, if you want time for yourself, go get a job waitressing or bartending. So I obviously lost my shit. Now, first of all, I still can't comprehend to this day that is the man that I married speaking. Like, that's fucking insane to me. Joe always took really good care of me. So the next few months, you guys, was an absolute fucking wrecking ball. Like, he wouldn't even talk to me. Like, we're talking about fucking living in the same house and him acting like I don't even exist, which was probably more painful than fucking anything. Like, I just had your fucking baby and you're ignoring me due to what? Like, literally as if I'm not even there. So in November there was, you know, a huge blow up, and he ended up moving out, and then things got real crazy, and there was a restraining order involved. And once he left the house, he was on a steady decline. You know, he went back to all of his old habits. And, you know, I'm debating how much to say on this fucking podcast, so give me a minute here. When you're with a spiritual woman and you're a man, okay? So listen up if you're a man listening to this. Don't ever discredit that a lot of the shit in your life is because of that female that you're with. And all of the success and the money that you're making and the spiritual protection that you have and the shit that she gets you out of because of her spirits. Don't ever think that that was all you. Because the moment that's taken away, you will be reverted back to before you had that. On his way out, you know, he decided that he would offend all of my spirits, literally. Like, not just by him, you know, coming at me, but, you know, he broke some of my statues. He touched a lot of their offerings and things. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is out of my hands now. There ain't nothing that could be done. So I'll just let this unfold. So I got back to my meditations, and I had this realization. And as after the first couple months were very hard, but like after I was, when I was out of like the physical realm mind and back in my spiritual mind, I could see how this all happened because of the divine feminine and what a wrecking ball she is. What was happening was that as I'm activating, I'm already in the void anyway. I just had a fucking baby. So activating quote unquote Kundalini energy is not even a thing. It's flowing. It's there. I just birthed that's Shakti right there. I just exploded a baby into the universe. So this energy that's running and cycling through my body, and that I'm even honing in on even more so because I'm you know, doing breathing techniques and all of that. And you know, I keep seeing the Tower card right now. That if you want to pick out a card out of the tarot that is like what represents Kundalini energy, Shakti energy, it's the Tower card. It's that lightning bolt that strikes the tower. That's Shakti. And what was happening is as I'm doing this, it's pulling out everything that's standing in the way for that's in my partner, that is stopping him from also achieving this. So his demons are coming out that he never dealt with. And as these are, I mean, there was like weird shit. Like, it started like all of a sudden he's like eating like shit. So this is somebody who's been with me for we've been married 7 years. Like, you know, healthy eating, like all the shit. All of a sudden it's like the epitome of bad food, like gas station food, like like the work, like shit that I have not bought, and like brands I forgot existed because I haven't purchased them since I started eating healthy in like 2010. So like I'm just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, what is this shit in my house? Like, I couldn't even comprehend it. And then he got to a point where he wasn't even eating like the home cooked meals that like I make everything from fucking scratch, you know. I learned how to make white people food for him. So I was like making all this stuff and he's not even eating it. I'm like, okay. So then he's like living just off sugar. So now he's like all bad food. I'm just like, what is even happening? And then like, you know, he drank a lot of energy drinks. All of a sudden he's drinking like double the amount he normally drinks. And he's like even more nicotine than usual. And then he's like taking other stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? But what was happening is, see, for you to realize your own inner demons, you like Shakti will turn that shit up because you have to look at it somehow and realize it's a fucking problem. So I'm realizing the fucking problem's there, but the problem is, especially when you're an addict. I mean, I was an addict, so I'm speaking from experience. Like you don't see the problem when you're in it, right? So like, or you know it's there, but you have to make the choice. Am I going to keep feeding the addiction or do something about it? And when you don't want to fucking face your issue because you don't want to go through the work of it, you try to look away, but it makes everything else get fucked up. So that's what basically happened. That's basically what happened. And there was just a lot of spiritual things involved in the dissolving of this relationship. And I knew there was nothing I could do about it. I knew that because of everything I was doing with divine feminine energy, and that I was never going to quiet that energy inside me again, that I was going to have to take the aspect of Shakti that is Kali. That I was going to have to let my whole world be fucking destroyed. That I was going to have to face the fear of losing my husband. Because when me and him got together, and I know this is probably coming as a shock to a lot of you, and it did for like, you know, a lot of people that, you know, I read for like consistently when I like kind of let them know what was going on, or people in my close circle, like everybody was floored about this. Because we were so good together. Like we had a great relationship, and I don't regret it, obviously. But my biggest fear was like losing him. And I used to tell him as a joke all the time, like, if you die, I'm gonna die like 3 days later. Like, this is that kind of relationship. Like, I adored that man. I treated him like a king. Like, he was everything to me. Like, there was never like a moment in time where I thought he was annoying even. Like, I used to tell him that. I'm like, you're the only person that I never find annoying. I just like want to be around you all the time. And I always felt that way every single day of the whole 7 years we were together. It's why I decided to have a baby with him. But I didn't like, yeah, that was like, you know, some deep shit. But, facing that fear of actually losing him, like that was coming, that was total Shakti Kali energy. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go through this, and then I'm gonna have to like face the fear of losing everything, because when he left, he drained the bank accounts and cut off all the access to anything, and he was completely providing for me because of you know, I had to step away, as you guys know, from all of my work because I was so sleep deprived. I couldn't fucking do anything. So on top of, I was also trying to homeschool my son. So like, he left me with zero. I had zero. All of a sudden, I had 2 weeks to come up with all the money for rent, all of the money for the bills. I think I did all the numbers. I had to come up with $5,000 a month, like going from zero. And I was like, how is this going to fucking happen? Like, what's happening? So like, survival is like, I'm facing threats of that, right? The fear of survival, the fear of losing my husband, like all this stuff while I'm insanely sleep deprived. And I'm just like, no help from my parents. Like, I'm just like, what do I fucking do? Like, what do I even fucking do right now? And I just leaned harder into my spirituality, because I'm like, spirituality is getting me in this fucking mess. And this is what's going to be to get me out. I can't stop now. This is where everybody stops. This is where everybody stops on the path. Because when you are asking for a new life, the old one has to fucking leave. And when you experience the tower moment, the divine feminine, this is when everybody quits. Because people have in their mind divine feminine energy is some kind of fucking flow. Like, it's just some, look, you can't get more divine feminine than birth. That ain't no goddamn flow. That is fucking crazy. Birth is crazy. It's like, it's not like how the movies make it type crazy, but like, I mean, you're tripping. You're hallucinating. You're out in the void. You're bringing, like, you're bringing the power that runs through your body when you push a human out of it. And it's messy, it's bloody, it's all kinds of fluids coming out of your body. It's the most raw thing possible. That's divine feminine energy. Not frolicking in fields with a basket, like hand grinding your own wheat. Now it can be that too. I'm not saying that, but the actual essence of divine feminine energy looks like birth, and it looks like death, because they're one and the same. And it's messy. And I was like, I have to walk this fire. I have to go through it. And it didn't let up. You guys, with this move is a huge indicator of it finally changing. I've been going through this hardcore since September. It's been a 9-month fucking journey. Okay? And people, because we're used to Amazon Prime, it has ruined us. We think that it's going to, change is going to happen quick. Businesses are going to take off immediately, and I want to move, so that's going to happen quick, and we want like this like great amazing life, so we just think that's going to happen in a month. And no, that was fucking gruesome. I had to face a lot of fears that I had to reface fears in the court systems. Oh my God, all things I never wanted to do again, but I had to go and revisit all these things. And I just kept at it, and I kept doing the fucking meditations, and I kept talking to my spirits even more and putting them even more at the center of my life, because I knew my spirituality is what was going to carry me through. I don't know how if you listen to this and you ain't spiritual, I have no idea how you get through your life. I don't know how you do it, because because I had spirits communicating with me in dreams, or going to see my godmother, or going, getting readings and getting the guidance I needed, that of words to hang on to. The protection I received from specific spirits. Holy shit. I don't know how anyone goes through life. Like, I just don't. I couldn't have made it through that situation. And even them putting certain people in my path, like right at the right time. And I mean, even like Trisha B, like, she helped me so much through this. Like, she was the number one fucking player, like fucking helping me. Like, when I had to call the cops, she was at, if I would have called Trisha first, she would have been there before the cops. I waited till the cops left to call her. But if I would have called her at like the same time, she probably would have beat the cops to my house. Like, she was on it. I almost burned my fucking house down at one, it was fucking crazy. She had to come get me and the kids. Oh God, it was so bad. Malachi wanted popcorn, so I'm sleep deprived. I had just filed the restraining order, like all the shit was going on. I was at the house, and Malachi wanted popcorn. I like put popcorn on the stove, and then I just put the oil on the stove to heat it up. Zion started crying. go in the back to give him more milk, so like hopefully he falls asleep, and then like within minutes Malachi's in there and he's like, Mama, there's a fire in the kitchen. I'm like, what? I like run in there. I've never seen that shit. Was lit up. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna burn my fucking house down. But thankfully I carry a fire extinguisher. The landlord's never installed fucking fire alarms, but I had fire extinguishers, obviously, because I use candles. So I took that out. I can't even think of how to use it, like, because my brain, I'm just so out of it at that point of just like, I'm mentally and physically checked out. So I finally get it to work. I get the fire out. Thick white smoke is like all through my place, and I'm like, I think it just cleansed the fucking energy out of this place. Like, I don't even know. So I went and stayed at her house, and then, oh my god, we went back the next day and cleaned up the mess. Oh, yeah, it's been a long fucking road. I told my landlords what happened with like my with my husband leaving me with nothing. Literally not the following month, but the month after that, she raised my rent $400. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so thank you. I told you I have nothing, and you literally, your response to that was to raise my rent $400. And when that happened, you know what I did? Nothing. I fucking laughed. I'm like, it's just funny at this point, because I felt like this new divine feminine force, like, rising up in me. I was just like, nothing is gonna fucking take me down at this point. Like, nothing. I don't fucking care anymore. Like, what am I gonna do? She raised it. I can either stress about it, tell 10 people the same story, sulk in it, make myself more miserable, or I can just accept the fact that that's reality and tell my spirits, well, you're gonna have to come up with an extra 400. And they did it. You guys, I somehow went 6 solid months with, like, I don't know how that occurred. 6 solid fucking months supporting myself with 2 kids, when I went from having completely supported by my husband to 0. Like overnight I was locked out of accounts. Overnight I had you know how you have like Apple Wallet, like I got notices of his like debit card being removed from my Apple Wallet. Oh, he called the electric company, or he called his bank and like said that the electric bill payment was unauthorized and had them reverse the electric bill on me. So I like got flagged for dishonorable payment, and I could only pay in cash at the electric company. So I'm like, what is going on? But during all of this, I'm like, no, I'm just like being burnt to ash right now. I'm being fucking burnt to ash. The old me isn't going to exist after this, and neither is my old fucking life, and neither is my husband, apparently. So like he went from like love of my life, whatever, like I don't even know what to label like I never in a million years ever would think something like this would happen. And like laughing about it like a crazy person. And all of a sudden 9 months later, like I'm living in a condo with my 2 kids by myself and enjoying my life. I don't know, like this is divine feminine energy. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I don't have some profound fucking thing to say. I'm just telling you that if you want to mess around with Shakti, you want your Kundalini energy activated, be fucking ready. This is why they tell you in India you need a guru if you're going to do this shit. Because especially if you're working with the divine mother Shakti in any way, when you go through this, like you usually need like a teacher to be like, hey, this is supposed to be happening, right? But I've been in this for, I don't know, I've been in the spiritual paths on and off for a while now. And so, well, I don't want to say off, but like different spiritual paths. I kind of like, you know, am a weaver of the paths for a long time, and I know this. Yeah, Shakti ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, seriously. This, I don't even know. When you're going through, when you are consciously making choices to change your life, and you are, let me say it like this. When you decide to like get into the spiritual path and access your intuition, and I don't know, maybe you start doing little rituals, new moon, full moon circles, you know, whatever, you start getting involved in stuff, you'll start going through little mini initiations. Now, what I wanted in my life in the initiation, or the new thing that I was asking for, required a giant fucking initiation. And my thing was, I want to unite with the Divine Mother. I want to help women reawaken themselves. So that means I had to reawaken my own self, right? Like, I have to know all of the different essences of the divine feminine if I'm going to come on here behind a fucking mic and not be a fluffy fake, right? You'll never catch me behind a mic doing fluffy fake shit. I speak from my own fucking experience and my own fucking life. I'm not into this fluff shit that's going around. I had to experience every aspect of the Divine Mother before I could get behind this mic and actually step into the calling that I was being called to. And when I said yes to that, when I said yes, this is what I want to do, because listen, I'm on this earth for spirit. I'm here to experience spirituality and to bring it to other people. I will not let anything stand in my way of that. I will never let anything stand in my way of that, ever. And apparently, without me knowing, my husband was a block in that, because as soon as I started elevating and his shit started coming up, he didn't want to face it. He ran. He's not even in Florida anymore. He fucking ran. I do hope one day that he's man enough to face his demons and he can be a father to his son, you know, because I know these two, it's like he has two distinct personalities or something. I want the one that was like, you know, happy and caretaking-ish. That's a good father. But those demons need to be faced, and they need to be faced on behalf of Zion. Forget about me. Like, our relationship's over. That's never going to be revisited again. But Zion deserves a father that's man enough to face his own demons. And then, you know, then you can operate in your divine masculine. Anyway, I had to experience this, all of these different faces of Shakti, and going through it, holy shit. Yes, it was something, but every night when I was like crying myself to sleep and being like, how am I going to fucking do this? How am I going to provide for my kids? Like, am I going to get evicted this month? The same thing, like every fucking night worrying about it, not sleeping, breastfeeding. Am I eating enough? Is Zion getting enough of my breast milk? What am I going to fucking cook for dinner? Like, all this shit. And then dealing with court, and then dealing with the craziness that was transpiring with Joe, and like all of that. It was so overwhelming, but I'm like, if I get through this, like, this is when everybody wants to turn around and you just go back to what you knew. So many people who were in my situation, if they didn't understand the spiritually what was happening, they just would have redirected and stayed in the marriage. They just would have stayed in the shit. They just would have went back to what they were doing before and not kept trucking through it, because it seems like everything's going wrong, right? So this is on the spiritual path. I'm sorry, I think I went off on a little tangent there. This is when you start on the spiritual path and these little initiations happen here and there, and then you are about to make like a big initiation. And it might not be something crazy at the level I just went through. Again, you know, like I was saying, I have a different call in my life, you know, than most. But this is why a lot of people revert back to Christianity, because they get to a point where it seems like everything is going wrong or something major is falling apart in their life, and instead of push through and trust harder or find the answer or find somebody in community, this is why you can't do spirituality outside of community, find somebody in community. This is why I have the Wise Woman Network, right? So we can go through this together, and that there's people who have been on the path longer than you and access to me as well. Like you want to revert back to what you know, or you think there must be something wrong, or maybe the Christians are right, I'm being attacked by the devil. Because when something isn't going how you think it should, the first thing people want to jump to is label it as demonic, right? I mean, my parents are super fucking Christian. I'm pretty sure they're labeling my whole situation because I don't love Jesus. And that this is all the devil, right? Wrecking my marriage and all this shit. It's not. The devil's you. The devil's you. The devil is your own demons inside you that take on personality of their own and then attack you. They're your own inner demons. They're the inner demons that you don't stop fucking feeding, so they take on a life of their own and fucking attack you. That's it. I didn't do nothing. All I did was elevate, right? My partner couldn't face his demons. So when you as a female are wanting to get more into the divine feminine, forget about getting your little frolicky skirt, okay? Know that this path ain't for the weak. Know that you're capable of getting through it, and know that just by you getting involved with it, you're going to be calling up the people around you. So when they start purging and their demons start showing, maybe help them out a little, see if they want to actually face it. If you think things are starting to go wrong all of a sudden, now there's a difference between things destructing and things actually going wrong. Okay, the things where it's like, oh, this is actually going wrong, you know, maybe you're getting a little mentally ill. I mean, I felt mentally ill at some point, but that's just a joke, guys, because I'm not going to get into that on this podcast. This is why you need community, we'll put it that way, because no, I'm not getting into the mental illness thing. That's going to be a whole fucking bunny trail. And I'm trying to wrap up the show here. We're moving into an hour of story time. But when things start going wrong, don't revert. That's my point here. Don't revert, because getting through it is your initiation. The destruction that happens is so you can have the new. And because of I don't know how else to say, I mean, those of you that don't know astrological archetype might not understand, but like Saturn's the master of initiation, and he's gonna make you work for that shit. There's no shortcuts, you know. There's no YouTube video. I know there's tons out there. Listen to this video of whatever hertz, 777 hertz, and it will activate your kundalini energy. If that were true, you would be in a mental institution. You would literally be hospitalized. There is no, you know, these social media gurus that are like, take my course in 7 days, activate your kundalini, and no, sorry, there is no shortcut in real spirituality. You have to put the fucking work in. And this is why 99% of the people who are spiritual, or say they're spiritual, or wanting to start a spiritual path fail at it, and they're not really doing anything other than like taking drugs in the woods. Okay, so you took a plant and you threw up and you had visions. You're not spiritual because of that. You simply had a trip. You tripped. Okay, I did it all the time in fucking high school. Like that doesn't mean anything. You're not now suddenly spiritual because you had an experience. You can have spiritual experiences and not be spiritual. And the majority of people, when push comes to shove and you have to go through these initiations, will revert. And they'll leave the path and they'll go to Christianity, or they'll go to something that seems safer. And all safe is means that you're staying in your comfort zone. It means that you're staying in your comfort zone. And I pushed through and I pushed through and I pushed through, and I'm like, this is my initiation. I'm fucking going through it. I'm going to get through this. And I did it. Out of nowhere, I was offered this amazing condo for cheap as fuck to help me get on my feet. And even that, like, I think I kind of, I'll share a little bit, but I didn't have my rent on for May. And I was like, talking to my spirits, like, what? Y'all have come through this don't make no sense. So like I always say, life is understood, is lived forward but understood backwards. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna make sense in the end, but why is this happening? So I was like, meditating on it, praying on it, and I kept seeing a friend of mine. Her face kept popping in my head. And now I'm very private about this situation. Like, I'm still, yes, I'm going to publish this podcast. Like, I'm still like, when you're in it, you don't really want to share until like everything's over. At least I'm like that. I have my few close friends that, I would talk to about what was going on to kind of like help encourage me through it. But details, it ain't nobody's business until I can turn it into a lesson to help other people. Right. Plus I was in like the court system and stuff, and I'm not coming on here trying to like shame my husband. We're still married. I haven't filed for divorce yet. To shame on, like, I had a great marriage with him for 7 years. It's really shitty how it ended, and I pray that he fucking faces his shit. I do. We will never be together again, unfortunately, and it still makes me sad thinking about that. Like, what? I thought I was gonna like fucking die on top of this man. I thought that death would be us in divine ecstatic bliss having sex, and then we would just like float to fucking outer space together, whatever. And it's not gonna happen now, fuck. But it is what it is, and there's still some days that I'm just like, what? How? This is fucking sucks. What was the point of this? We got together after like we hadn't seen each other in like 15 years, and we like finally got together, and then this is how it ends. I have his baby and then he's gone. Like, what? Life is a trip, man. So I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on? But so I reached out and I said, hey, do you know of anyone that has like, this is Naples. Everybody has a fucking guest house. So like, anybody with a guest house that like I can stay in for a couple months while I'm getting on my feet? Blah, blah. And she's like, let me check around. She came up empty handed. I was like, okay. A friend gave me a loan. I was fucking gracious for. I just so happened like she needed like an emergency reading. She lended me money for rent. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry right now. Like, I could literally throw up. Like, I can't believe this. And then like 3 days later, that friend that I had reached out to, suddenly she's like, somebody just reached out to me. They need to sublease their son's condo for 9 months, you guys. 9 fucking months. 9 months. Hello. And I told them that you can only afford this amount, and they said that that's fine. And so I have some like beautiful couple that is allowing me to like sublease this condo for cheap, and they've never even like met me before. They've never seen my face. They've never met me in person. They're like happy to help, and I send them the payment we agreed on, and it's just like, what? fucking what? And this like ties back into my other podcast, right? Like I couldn't even get my own parents to help me. Like my, like, whatever. I don't even... Like my mom sent me the contact info to the homeless shelter, and I'm just like, really? Like with your grandkids? Like I just, okay. And again, I really, it's hard to like, I tie this all into my own energetics, because as I call up the divine feminine, I know it's gonna make all the people around me, like, their fangs are gonna fucking show, and so I just let it be what it is, and I don't even fucking take it personal. It's just like, shit. Like the whole time this was going on with my husband, it was just like, well, shit, like this isn't me, like I'm not doing anything, this is his own shit he's in that he needs to deal with. But like when this, like it made sense. Like I couldn't make rent, so that I would reach out to this specific friend, because in that specific time there was going to be an availability. And that's some crazy shit. And if I could go through, this would be a fucking 10-hour podcast. And you know, I don't like to share a lot of like the personal spiritual. I mean, the ladies in the network got like the play-by-play as it was happening, but the synchronicities and the divine timing, you guys, I'm talking about down to the second of things happening so that things down the road would work out in my favor, is insane. You wouldn't even believe it unless you knew me, like unless you knew my path. Like if you're like you don't, you know, you're a stranger to me and who I am, you'd be like, this bitch is making this up. That's what you would say. It was fucking crazy. But yeah, I like, what is the point of this episode? I guess to tell you that the divine feminine ain't nothing to fuck with. That's it. It's not this, I'm gonna be in my divine feminine, so I like paint my nails and fucking, I don't know, make sourdough bread and whatever. That's not, like, we have this like weird misconception of what feminine is, and it always goes back to like what you're wearing and like what you're doing. But like feminine is like, is birth, feminine is death, feminine is what I just talked to you about for an hour. It's destruction, it's rebirthing, and it's birthing out a new life, an actual human life, but also this new life that I'm now living. All of a sudden, 9 months later, I'm suddenly not married anymore. I'm suddenly like the person I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. We don't even talk. I don't even see his face. What? I used to stare at that face while it was sleeping. And all of a sudden it's not there. Like that's all divine feminine energy. Do you understand? So when you start getting into it's why the Wise Woman Network is so important to me. And you know, in pregnancy and postpartum and all of that, like rebranding the network a couple times, is because like I couldn't really put my finger on what I was trying to do there. But it's really just so women have community when they get involved in spirituality or need spirituality to get through things, so that there's community. Because you need somebody to tell you, yeah, this is part of it, keep going. And then how to even fucking get through it, because it's so fucking hard. And seeing the signs and having somebody that has better eyes than you seeing the signs. Like so in the 9 months, there was 3 readings that I got. And I kept going back to them because as they would manifest in my life, I knew like this is solid. These are what my spirits fucking said they are gonna do, and I know they're gonna fucking do it. I just have to like keep at it. And and one of the things I was thinking about the other day, where I think people get it wrong in spirituality / religion, is there's a big difference between blind obedience and blind faith. And religion wants you to have blind obedience. Blind faith is completely different. And that's kind of what you need when you're going through activations like this. I'm going to call it like an activation or like an initiation. You have to be willing to face your own shit too, because I was definitely facing my own shit. Absolutely the stuff that I was purging and the realizations I had of my own self and my own problems with negative self-talk and how I really felt about myself, all of that was coming up, of course. Especially when you're sleep deprived. You ladies know, you have a few days of like sleep deprivation and like your brain's fucking going crazy. But you know, in all of this, and you know, losing the person I loved so dearly, it was just like, you know, I was dealing with my own shadow aspects of that. And then even people, you know, people that don't understand my path and my spirituality, basically telling me to quit. What are you doing? There's obviously something wrong here. You know, if this was right, you wouldn't be experiencing this. Like, I mean, people coming out of the woodwork who I barely even know that well, saying shit like, just because, like, you know, they run into me and they see me crying or struggling or whatever. It's, oh, well, you should reassess. Reassess what? Wait till I'm on the other side of this. Like, what? But yeah, people, I don't know, people, they don't understand. And it's important to have community that does understand, that will help to guide you through the muck and not tell you to run away from it. And that will help you, listen, your shadow doesn't get healed. You got to integrate your fucking shadow. You don't control your shadow. You accept it as you. Like, no, we're at an hour. I'm not gonna, that's a separate podcast. I'm kind of talking about this for the full moon circle this week, and I'll probably do a podcast episode on it, but I do want to talk about like alchemy and shadow work and stuff. But just know that if you are on the path of the divine feminine and you're trying to figure out what it means to even be feminine, or anything that has to do with experiencing that energy and allowing that to freely flow through you, know that you will go through initiations, and know that divine feminine isn't pretty. Always bring yourself back to birth. You can't get more feminine than that. Us being female are naturally conduits of this energy, and this energy is so suppressed right now. It's dying to come out, and as soon as you say yes to that, you can expect everything to fucking fall away that is stopping it from coming out in you. Me rising up in the type of Shakti energy that I'm here to express isn't something that my husband in his current state could have handled, and that's why he's gone. There's many different expressions of the divine feminine, and this is again why I love Hinduism so much, because all of their different like avatars of the goddesses, they depict so many different aspects of feminine energy, and mine are obviously the more darker, destructive ones. And so for, you know, if I'm going to be in partnership with somebody, it has to be somebody that can handle that intensity. Yeah. that's it. So that's kind of a sum up of what's been going on in my life for the past 9 months. What a trip. I didn't need no ayahuasca. I did that all sober. I did it on sleep deprivation. Oh my god. You know, I like laugh sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, the yogis that like go on severe sleep deprivation and like barely eat and like do all of this shit in order to have like experiences of God and to like reach enlightenment and shit. I'm just like, yeah, I do that naturally as a fucking mother. Like, I don't need to, this isn't some kind of special practice. This is just daily life. But that's why the divine feminine is so powerful, and that's why it's so oppressed. I don't know. I've been chatting for over an hour now, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Yeah, just again, if you are, you know, in search of community and don't want to go through this alone, know that that's what we do over there at the Wise Woman Network. And I go on there and I teach about this stuff 3 times a week. We chat. I'm starting to do Zoom calls where, you know, we're all live and just like expressing ourselves and encouraging each other and talking about our paths and stuff. But this is so important. This needs to be restored to women again, because the divine can't flow, you know, properly. The divine feminine can't properly flow if we're out of community, because the divine feminine isn't just one face, it's many faces. It's many faces. It expresses itself in many different ways. So yeah, it is pretty nails and sourdough bread, but that's only like 1% of it. It's also what I just told you. That whole story, understand the whole story that I just told you is Shakti. The whole story I just told you is Shakti. From the conception of my son to the fucking ending of my fucking marriage to the fucking fire in my house to the destruction of my whole entire life. That's Shakti too. It's as beautiful as my son. It's as crazy as childbirth. It's as destructive as the 9 months I just endured. It's all her. So, I guess to wrap it up, what could be more wicked than that? Actually surrendering to that kind of energy. Actually allowing something like that to transpire in your life. Embracing the intensity of what divine femininity actually is. And when it gets hard, and when it gets to that point, not labeling it wicked, but just know that it's actually divine. All right, you guys, that's enough. I love you all. I will hopefully see y'all next week.
Want to be part of an online community filled with other badass women supporting each other on their wicked journey? Check out my online community, the Wise Woman Network. We have classes, courses, online community meetings, and more. Activate that sleeping goddess within and unleash your divine power. Join me today on a free trial to all my listeners. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you there.